Hello and a very warm welcome to you. It is another very informative and educative episode of your #1 legal talk show, The Courthouse. Yes, we get to learn the law together in plain, simple and entertaining language. I always like to remind you of that fact. It's Olomu-Agbodo. We'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
From Lagos
to London, from Johannesburg
for several years, our economy
to the United States,
identifying houses of worship.
We have all the world covered for you, no matter where you are.
Love with News is at the heart of it all.
I have experience.
We bring you our perspectives of stories behind the story.
The signs given to us for the entry of these things are before us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us on this station.
You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the Courthouse, and on the show this week we're going to take a look at something that a lot of legal practitioners have been clamoring for. Should we say it's a reform yet, or is it a development that has come to stay? We hope it has come to stay anyway. I personally hope it has come to stay, and it is the virtual courts. We've been hearing of virtual court sittings in Nigeria, Lagos State, some other parts of the country, and some people are wondering at the constitutionality or otherwise of having virtual courts. But a lot of people are saying it is the way to go. And as usual, this week I'm joined by a seasoned legal practitioner who is going to be telling us his opinion and, of course, the position of the law as regards virtual court sittings and how their judgments should be viewed. He is none other than Justice OJIENOH. You're welcome to the Courthouse.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
And it's great to see that you are not tied up in your legal regalia because of the one benefit of
the moment. we really don't like to appear in all the regalia every time, especially in courts where you are practically at all times wearing about at least between 7 and 12 pieces of apparel. We think it's too burdensome, and we should shift.
In our climate as well.
We should shift. There's no reason why we shouldn't go to court like this. Absolutely.
After all, you are a Nigerian.
Yes, I should wear something maybe like a bandana or something to specifically identify me as a lawyer in the courtroom. But aside that, I think that this other one is archaic. It belongs to like 200 years ago or 300 years ago.
Wow,
we think it should move.
So it means that you are one of those that are really happy to hear about the virtual court sittings.
Absolutely. Even though in the virtual court sittings, we will still have to dress.
That is one thing, but because I saw the judges making pronouncements, they were fully robed, and I'm like, oh,
can we just have a break?
So give us your general opinion on this virtual court sittings and help us understand a bit of the legal backing that the courts have to do this.
Okay, I feel that if we don't go this route, I think we'll be stuck really back in time, because that is exactly what the world is veering towards now. I learned that the Supreme Court of the United States actually delivered a judgment. Supreme Court delivered a judgment using virtual sittings in recent times because of the precariousness of the situations that we find ourselves now in. In Nigeria, if we do not, of course, we'll be stuck in time. Technology is just the way to go, not just in the court system. It is a given. Okay. We must ensure that in everything we do, we incorporate technology. And these virtual court sittings to have come to rescue us from the malaise that would have beplagued us if it is not incorporated. And what I mean by that is the fact that if there are no court sittings, the society will descend into chaos. It is a given.
Looking at this virtual court sittings, it's a welcome development. A lot of people believe it's a welcome development, but A number of citizens had issues during the period when movement was restricted, during the lockdown period, and some of them were even brutalized, assaulted by the police and some agencies, one law enforcement agency or the other. What's your take on the cases? What type of cases, first of all, do these courts handle? And do they handle cases as urgent as police brutality, fundamental rights, infringement actions? Do they handle such cases?
Okay, I don't think there is any restriction as to the kind of cases they handle. And one of the major boosts as to the cases that will be prioritized before them are cases that are imminent. So when cases are imminent, yeah, the courts can also limitedly, physically open to attend to it, but there is really no limitation as to the kind of cases that can be handled by virtual court, except for cases that, of course, can always wait. Okay. So once it is imminent, once it is something that needs immediate judicial intervention, then the virtual courts will come in. I think that people who feel that their rights have been infringed upon, which is something that must happen in the absence or the pause or when the courts are in limbo.
Yes.
These things must happen. The executive arm of government, through its agencies, will definitely take laws into their hands. Those kind of people can, of course, ignite provisions of Section 46 of the Constitution, which says that anybody who thinks that his right has been, is being, or is likely to be infringed upon should approach the High Court in his vicinity. There will be challenges too as to interpretation of such provisions and the myriad other provisions of the Constitution which allow people to approach the courts. And the challenge will be when the Constitution says that the court sitting should be public.
Yes, because like you said, I was coming to that. Thank God you brought it yourself. You brought it out. A lot of people, they know about courts. How do I describe these courts now? Let me know.
Physical courts, the fact that you can
some
just
of these
stroll into
courts that were actually established to enforce this lockdown and all that. Some people are very much aware that if I move around, I'm going to be picked up and the mobile courts would prosecute me in the mobile courts. They are aware of that. But they are not aware that they can carry go with their grievances, get a lawyer during the period of lockdown as well, and get justice during the period of lockdown. Why? What can the NBA do about that? How do we make them know that it's not just the mobile courts to hold you when you are violating movement restrictions or something like that? Okay,
I think it's an archaic thing. I think it's the way our mind, not just the public, even lawyers and some judges, the way the mind is
programmed.
Framed. Yeah, we are absolutely constrained and restrained to the physical court as it is. We are, I don't want to say averse to innovations, averse to new developments, averse to where the world is going and the kind of possibilities that technology can launch us into. Because of that, the ones amongst us, I pray I'm counted amongst them, that are versed in how these things can actually expand our horizon in administration of justice, we should educate. The NBA too is really in the vanguard of that as we speak. We should educate the general populace that nothing stops dispensation of justice. We know that if justice is not dispensed as and when due, there will be serious issues in society. So nothing stops dispensation of justice. Anybody can still approach the courts with their grievances and get justice in time. This time, in fact, more so. Because there are no limitations of the lawyer couldn't get to court because of traffic. Yeah, we know that there will be some other challenges, which is largely infrastructural. We know what the president is trying to do recently when he said that the legislature and the judiciary should have a direct take from the federation account. Yes. We know that has always been in place for recurrent expenditure, but for capital expenditure, that's a huge challenge. And that capital expenditure challenge has to be evacuated or ameliorated so that the judiciary can have access to much needed funds in order to be able to establish the infrastructure needed for this kind of rollout of justice delivery. Also, they should be able to maybe take some more staff, IT-related staff, that will be able to ensure that, okay, this process is not bugged by any delay of incompetence or unavailability of the relevant infrastructures and all. The lawyers too should get themselves educated. The NBA should organize conferences and seminars. We already have continuous legal education, but the continuous legal education should focus more on bringing lawyers up to speed with the realities of this profession. See, AI, artificial intelligence, is already threatening to dislodge the need of a lawyer at all, of a medical doctor, 3D printing and all. Surgeries will be conducted without a physical doctor being present. Artificial intelligence gives legal advice. So if we don't know about the threat at that level, we are still coping with the first principle. We are still trying to cope with first principles.
Filings
while
and all that.
Applications are already doing a lot of things that lawyers are doing. So we can't afford to be caught in the old times, in antiquity.
Okay, it's been an interesting conversation. We've been talking to Justice OJIENOH, telling us about virtual courts, the essence of having virtual courts, and he's also pointed out the fact that even during period of movement restrictions, that every citizen still had the right, still had access to courts. No one stopped you from actually going to courts. But is that really what played out in Nigeria and in some other parts of the world? Or there was an imposition of martial law and people believed their rights were suspended? Anyway, we have a report for you, and of course our legal nuggets. We'll be right back. Virtual court hearings, which are proceedings that are conducted electronically or through the use of electronic means, could be hybrid or fully virtual. The guidelines approved by the National Judicial Council (NJC) for the conduct of court proceedings in the period of lockdown has, however, thrown up a plethora of legal issues. This includes the constitutionality of the virtual court proceedings. Also, some expected judicial outcomes for some of these irregular provisions of virtual court proceedings online may not stand the test of the law, as they are likely going to create loopholes which parties could exploit on appeal when the trial is not in their favor. The NJC, in some of its guidelines, directed the Nigerian courts to provide fast-speed, pervasive, and reliable internet connectivity, while the end user would provide hardware devices such as desktops, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. This is to serve for the virtual sittings using collaborative platforms with electronic recording functionalities. Other measures include checks at court premises, filing of court processes online, payment of filing fees, service of hearing notices, virtual or remote sittings, physical court sittings, and general provisions. Many state judiciaries followed suit, with some contesting its legality. You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is still the courthouse, and we'll be talking about virtual court sittings. And we had a distinguished legal practitioner who's been giving us his opinion and, of course, the legal ramifications for having a virtual court. It is the way to go, as he said. And he also mentioned the fact that whether during lockdown, movement restriction, or the like, every citizen still had access, still have the right to access to court, because that is your constitutionally guaranteed right. You have the right to go to court if you feel that your right was being infringed upon or is likely to be infringed upon, and all the grammar that
Has
you've
been,
been telling
is
us.
being, or is likely to be.
Okay, you mentioned the fact that a lot of lawyers are still basically in the Stone Age, and of course those crop of people will be fighting developments like this.
True.
What is the reaction of the Nigerian Bar Association and of course the International Bar on this development?
Oh, they have no choice. They are left with no choice, because as it is, for them to even be able to have landed such executive positions, maybe at the NBA or at the IB, one of the things they will sell to the people who vote them in is the future. And you cannot possibly be selling the future without telling people how technology is actually the way to go. So the NBA and the IBA are also in the forefront of this drive of this is the way to go. This is the way to go. We must embrace technology. I don't want to restrict it to virtual, because technology also can help the judges deliver cases on time. Where, you know, the way the Nigerian case works, a lot of people watch American movies and they feel that that's the way lawyers conduct themselves in Nigerian courts.
Yes.
No matter how brilliant a lawyer is, for example, while asking questions from the witness, cross-examination, you will be slow, because you know that the judge is still right. And he's writing almost everything word for word. No assistant, nobody to. You get, there should be a stenographer, there should be a person who is writing shorthand, there should be equipment.
Recording. Proceedings.
We are still bound exactly by what the judge records. It could possibly be that a judge can be maligned and write the opposite of what a legal practitioner asks. But when the matter goes to the upper courts, it is what the judge wrote that we are all bound by. So technology can save us all of this within the courtroom. There are a lot of technological advancements and assistance that we can get also beyond the courtrooms. The lawyer too, So
what about the issue of the fact that there's no provision for it? Because people are arguing based on the constitutionality of the virtual courts that right now there is no constitutional provision for it, so it's not legal, it doesn't have the support of the law, and of course all the jargons.
Okay, as a person who is versed with the Constitution, I know that a lot of things that we say is constitutional or unconstitutional can be evolved with the interpretation of such provisions of the Constitution. And in interpretation of the provisions of the Constitution, the Supreme Court, which is the ultimate court in our own case, is most times purposive. They check what is the purpose, how do we advance the course of our country while interpreting the Constitution. Most times they don't just interpret it,
the letters of
it. But if the letters are too tight for purposive approach, that is when the Supreme Court will usually say, in this situation, our hands are tied, go back to provisions of Section 9, which talks about constitutional amendment. In this scenario, it was the CJN himself, and of course, members of the National Judicial Council that brought the practice directions for the virtual courts and remote courts. So I want to strongly believe that they would have considered those provisions of the Constitution. But I must also admit that the NJC and CJN are not the Supreme Court. They are just officers of the Supreme Court. So whatever the Supreme Court says, even though they are the ones that constitute the Supreme Court, will still truncate what they do, because everything we do, they are doing it in caps.
Technicality.
Yes, technicality and interpretation. And also, I see it is a possibility that the people are angling for the fact that it is not constitutional. No, I will not sit down here and say, when the case gets up, they will lose.
But in one very first, in the very first virtual court sitting that we witnessed recently,
Yeah.
someone was sentenced to death. One Amid, he was sentenced to death by hanging.
Yes.
And so even in the judgments of the courts at the end, we saw this is the virtual court judgment of these courts. And I'm wondering, are we now adding the technicality of insisting on
Okay,
the virtual
for,
court
for
being
me,
mentioned?
I want to believe that should be added.
Okay.
I want to believe that should also be added so that there will be a clear distinction between, okay, was it a physical court or was it a virtual court?
Why
Because
not just
of the
a court
peculiarities.
is a court simpliciter?
For the sake of facts, for the sake of appeal, for the sake of the Court of Appeal, because the Court of Appeal will, in writing their own judgments too, they will refer to facts within the court, some things that happen within the court. So that fact should also be stated because it might just be fatal. Because it could be that while the lawyer to the defendant, the person was sentenced to death, was arguing, then something went off. Maybe the internet went off and he could not complete his argument.
So that's
maybe
also
the lawyer
creates
didn't
a
hear.
lacuna
Yes,
for
it's so many lacunas and no lawyers. You know lawyers. These people are ingenious. Pay them. They bring their ingenuity to bear, and one comma somewhere, one full stop somewhere becomes pivotal in determining, okay, how a case should actually
and
go.
you just mentioned internet access, the fact that there may be network issues, and which is a very common thing in our terrain. So that's
a lawyer can actually maybe switch off his data and say,
I wasn't online.
I wasn't online.
I wasn't privy to whatever
so many,
proceedings.
1 million things can actually come up. So those are some of the challenges with
So that's quite interesting, but I won't argue with the fact that lawyers should have opportunity to wriggle out of any position.
Yes.
So, but going forward, do you have any recommendations that you would like us to run with? You like the NJC, the NBA, or the Nigerian judiciary generally to run with?
It will be 2 umbrellas.
Okay.
First, training. Train anybody and everybody that is a stakeholder within the court process. The judges, the registrars, the lawyers. Train all of them. No matter, almost stop at whatever cost. Almost don't stop at whatever cost to ensure that, okay, these people get the right training. That's number 1. Number 2 is, of course, under still the training, bring in more people, more experts. On the infrastructural part, I think there should be a constitutional amendment that will make the judiciary have a first line charge.
Okay.
When it comes to capital expenditure. Maybe limited. In budgetary provisions, you can now talk about additional capital expenditure for them, so that they will have money to be able to carry out these projects. If they don't have the money to carry out these projects, we will still be stuck in this age. And this age, I assure you, in 10 years, what we'll be talking about the legal profession is not going to be the same as what we are currently talking about now.
So now we have, of course, if we have virtual court sittings, it means we have virtual filings, and everything just needs to go in that direction.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's actually a very laudable move, because people have been calling for decongestion of
the registry of the courts
and things like that. So this is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And of course, it means that we'll get justice faster. Justice.
Amen. Justice literally and literally.
Yes.
Faster. And lawyers too should be trained.
Yes, lawyers should too. Definitely need to be trained.
See, competition will deal with that part of it. A lawyer who is not virtually inclined will be, the clients will know, it will be obvious.
You'll be stuck in the lower court.
Yeah, so the economics of things, the competition will make the lawyer upgrade his own skills.
That's quite an interesting one. And in talking about expenditure, just a quick one. Now that there's a move for the Constitution to be amended for states to now be in charge of their own legislature and the judiciary, do you think that there would be sufficient provision for them if that gets in the way?
As much as possible, I want to remove the hands of the state governor from dispensing money, whether it is for the local governments, whether it is for the judiciary, or whether it is for the legislature, because we know that the politics is just too overwhelming. It is too selfish. It is grab, 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 grab.
Okay, so let's leave politics aside, because in clamoring for restructuring and things, there are a whole lot of things going on, and there are a
everything
whole
should
lot
just
of
go
realities.
direct to those accounts.
Quite interesting. You've been using some, let me say, you use one or two Latin jargons. That brings us to our segment on Latin maxims. We know the lawyers, the legal profession, they are phasing out Latin maxims, the use of the maxims like that, but we like to hear some Latin and their meanings. I'll take a very simple one you used earlier, lacuna. So my Latin maxim for this week is lacuna, and lacuna is basically a loophole in the law, a gap in the law. What's your Latin maxim?
Day.
Day.
Yeah.
Day, that's so simple. It's simpler than mine. How come?
Because, of course, the English language is taken from the Latin and the French. So English, they have less original, not so much original.
So what does it mean?
God.
God. Day. God. Day Gracia, God's grace. Of course, we have some more Latin maxims for you in our Bar Book segment. Well, it's been a very interesting episode. We talked about virtual court sittings. Imagine seeing a judge in his house, in a sitting room, passing judgments. That is the way to go, really. It's the new way things should go. We should actually be progressive and decongest our court registry. So that's what we discussed this week, virtual court sittings. And I had a distinguished legal practitioner who shared his opinion and, of course, gave us the position of the law on that issue. Is Justice OJIENOH. I must say thank you for making our time to be with us this week.
It's great to be here.
Thank you so much, and we'd like to see you some other time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like you to download our app on any of the mobile app stores. Our app is Lover Plus. We'd like you to also use our hashtag the courthouse, hashtag Lover Plus to drop your comments. And we want you to send questions because we have distinguished legal practitioners who are ready to provide free legal advice and, of course, answers to your questions. So we'd like to hear from you. You can also go to our website on www.loverplus.tv and use our email info@loverplus.org to send emails to us. We also have numbers that will be showing on your screen now. I am Olomu-Agbodo. And, of course, don't just get mad. Go get a lawyer. Bye for now. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you.